Hello. Hello, TMV. Hello, TMV. We're going to get
Hello.
a strange, funny face from you for every single one of these. It's going to be great. Like,
If you hadn't have even said that, I probably would have done that, and people would have thought like, "Oh, they told him to do a funny face to start each episode," but I actually just would have done it.
you just
Just
naturally have a funny face. So that's the best part.
I
And
saw
what?
that. Well, hold on, I saw that picture you on the Ascend Twitter.
Hmm.
And I don't know whether if some of you want to go and find it, you can go to the Ascend Twitter, go and like the photo, about me joining the Ascend team. I did think, do Brody and Chiwa have big heads, or do I just have a small head? I've never once thought before that I have a small head, but I looked at that picture and I was like, do I have a small head? It's quite
well,
an odd experience.
there isn't a whole lot of brain to fit in there. So, it is. It
I think it's
is.
maybe the perspective because I'm further away, but
We'll
it
go with
like
that.
yeah, we'll
I don't
go with
want
that.
to. I don't want to hurt your confidence before we go into the big prediction episode. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point. I'll have to go back and revisit that picture, and we'll do a little bit. Maybe we can get out like a measuring tape and just
yeah.
take some
You can
diameter.
edit it and just stretch my head and just make
There
me
you
look
go.
like a bobblehead. Anyway,
Exactly.
we got a lot to talk about
We do. This is
because games are
episode
starting.
22, by the way. Let me do my intro, TMV.
Oh,
Cosmic Divide, episode 22. Welcome! And we're going to go ahead and predict some of the first games in split number one. What a good transition. Take it away, TMV. Let's go.
I mean, you sounded surprised when I told you that the EMEA game started Wednesday, so you seemed a bit taken aback by maybe it started a bit before you realized. But yes,
Nah,
there are. Pro Valorant is back. It's back in a big way. Um, And yeah, now we're entering into kind of your normal programming for the next, what is it, 6-ish weeks with playoffs, something like that. And
mhm.
then into Shanghai, and then on the other side of Shanghai, it'll be the same kind of thing, same kind of deal. So this is kind of, they might change the kickoff into next year. I think they might jig with that a bit and see how it works, and they might change some of the timings of stuff. But this is the stuff that I think, this will happen every year, right? Every team will play every team every year. So this is kind of, what we can come to expect. So let's dive into it then. 4 regions. And some games we're just gonna quickly say this team's gonna win, and other games we're gonna give some, some actual thought to. So,
If you're one of those less important games, well, unlucky. Win some
unlucky.
games.
So yeah, let's start with Americas. And the first game being played in Americas is between Cloud9 and Leviathan.
Ooh.
Two teams that I think actually people might feel quite differently about in terms of like the consensus on both these teams. I think will be quite interesting because Cloud9 have made two roster moves, which is kind
Yes.
of crazy. Two roster moves. So what was it? It was Jake and who else was gone? Oh, Whippy.
Yep.
Jake and Whippy out for Moose, and Rooney is back, but not IGLing this time.
Correct.
Uh, so I guess let's start off with what do you think of the Cloud9 roster moves?
Well, it's an interesting one. I wouldn't necessarily say that either one is like just you look at it and you're like, wow, that is a massive upgrade, right? I don't
Mm.
think anybody would uh go out and say that. I mean, unless you're like the biggest Moose fan, you've been watching every single one of his tier 2 games. But yeah, I mean, I know a little bit about Moose just from my time working with challengers teams, and like he's good. He's a good player. There's a lot of good players out there, but it's not like a player that I'm like, this guy must be in tier 1. It's a tragedy that this guy's not in tier 1. That being said, we've seen Cloud9 do this last year where they bring in some new hungry talent and they perform well. Um, I think the weirder one to me is bringing back Rooney, who was their IGL, kind of didn't want to IGL, so maybe that's fine because now Vanity's the IGL. But also just the fact that every time that we've ever heard anything talked about Whippy from like within like the Cloud9 team, the players that have played with him in the past in like version 1, it's always like Whippy is the GOAT. This guy is the best. I can't believe nobody like thinks Whippy's a good player, and then it's like, all right, see ya. So like, what's up with that?
Yeah. That honestly, that is my biggest question. Like, this team and this coaching staff and this structure has played with Whippy for like quite a lot.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like you didn't know who you were bringing in.
Yeah.
Unless they've had like a falling out or something. I don't really understand. Like, yeah, what did you, I honestly have no idea what's going on with Cloud9. Like you said, I don't think any of the changes are like super like wow, they got this guy, wow, now they're going to be insanely good. Like, I don't know. I have big questions. Now maybe the team chemistry will be better, maybe the whole team will be better like we saw last year with Cloud9. Maybe it does go in a good direction, but I have big doubts about them. And speaking of big doubts, I did a power rankings for Americas earlier on today for my video, and Leviathan are another team that I'm officially a doubter of.
Okay.
Not in terms of like them not being any good, right? They've got good enough players to like Aspas, Calm, like they'll just win rounds, right? Like King, they got the individual talent to like be competitive at least. But in terms of like Lev making it to Shanghai or something,
Mm-hmm.
I am doubting that. I
Yeah.
really am a doubter in that. Which does make this an interesting kind of game to pick. Uh, are you a Lev doubter? Are you joining me on the doubt train, or are you still in on their talent?
Um, I mean, I definitely think I'm a little bit questioning of their overall trajectory this year, but for me, I find it very hard to pick Cloud9 over them just because one
Yeah.
team has made a change and the other team hasn't. It's like you
Yeah.
could debate, okay, honeymoon phase, maybe Cloud9 will be like, vibes, wait, yay, and Lev is maybe having vibes problems, who knows? But I still think that overall, like player by player, Lev kind of gaps Cloud9 in
Yeah.
almost every single spot. So I would probably just take Lev and kind of not really think too much about it.
I would still agree with you, yes. But I think if Lev were playing a team that I felt a bit better about, then I might make a case. But yeah, I'm happy for Lev to pick that. Let's move on to
Yeah.
actually a game that we will probably spend a little bit of time on here. NRG versus Loud. Probably there's two big games I would say in Americas in this first week. I mean, really pretty sizable games. NRG Loud, and we'll get to Sen 100 Thieves in a bit. But this one, NRG. Now, interesting. I'll go back to that power rankings video, not to spoil too much, but I did end up with NRG second and Loud third.
Okay.
Do you think that is fair to put NRG above Loud?
Is it fair? I wouldn't say it's necessarily fair just because Loud has already made an event and proven
Yeah.
that they are pretty good. Is it a reasonable take? Yes, because like we know that the talent on Energy is immense. We know that they didn't have that much time playing together when we first saw them. And we know that Loud clearly has some issues and probably hasn't had enough time to fix some of their issues on maps. So, with that being said, I mean, I think it's really tough. Like in this particular game, I would probably favor NRG. Um,
Mm,
Overall, I don't know if I'd be ready to put them ahead of Loud, just like as a team over the course of Split One.
yeah. Yeah. But I mean that's interesting because my NRG stocks I guess are probably higher than most, which feel I mean other than like your Trueborn, red, white, and blue, kind of people that just love America and think that America's the greatest. Um, Other than those people, I feel like I'm
Well, it
I'm
is.
I'm pretty high on NRG. And to be honest, I'm down on Loud. Like I
Yeah.
think that's the thing as well. I think that Loud's problems won't be helped by the fact that I mean for this game, it's for instance, they have visa issues, right? So Sadek said that they'll barely be
Oh,
practicing
true. Yeah.
before this game. Um, so that's a concern, especially for this game. But I think even longer term that could have some impacts as well, because it probably means that they're gonna have to stick with their comp, right? They're gonna
Mhm.
have to stick with this Phoenix stuff, which I think at this point there's enough footage out there. There's enough kind of you can do enough work on that kind of stuff to just like figure out how to play against it, right? Like just figure out
Yeah.
the best ways of beating it. Teams already have beaten them on pretty much all of those maps, I think, maybe other than Sunset.
And
Um,
also, Loud has proven that they don't have the capacity to pivot currently because they tried
yes,
to pivot and it was bad. So,
yes. So yeah, they're gonna stick with what they've got. I think they need to change it. I think it's like one of those things that's good as a surprise, not so good as a kind of long-term, consistent, this is what we're doing type stuff. And I just have faith in NRG. I guess my faith in NRG comes from the fact that when I watched them play in their couple games at kickoff, I still saw like the individual talent is still clearly there. To me, they looked like a team that didn't have enough time to practice, and we know that they didn't have enough time to practice like fully, right? We
yeah.
know that. So for me, I'm just thinking like, well, the solution is very obvious: practice more. Which, especially
Yeah.
because they didn't go to Madrid, they should have had ample time now to prepare for this, right? There should be no real excuse for them. They should have been grinding hard, and I think you might see across the board those teams that went to, Madrid, that they might struggle a bit early
Yeah.
on. Because they've had to play, and everyone else, like you've only played a couple games, so there's no like, oh, let's take another month. You've just had a 6 months off season into then playing a couple games. Like you're not going to be like, oh, guys, let's take another month off. Like this is when these teams are going to actually be, really probably stepping it up and trying to get into a in kind of a good groove, ready for this, what many would consider like, the true maybe start of the season. So yeah, I'm picking NRG. Are you picking NRG?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with energy. But TMV, before we lock it in, I have to ask you one other question.
Go on.
There was a post on Reddit that was saying Demon One has not been grinding ranked. He's only ranked Ascendant right now. Does he care about the game anymore? Does he want to win? Thoughts?
I mean, look, I don't know. For me,
You can just say no and lock in energy if you want.
no, but I do think that this is an interesting topic because I do think that there is like a problem, and Fnatic had this problem, right? And they talked about it that like you win an event and like you're like, oh, I've done it now. So you just stop caring that much. Like you just don't care as much as you used to. You don't want it as much because you've done it, right? That is a problem for certain people. And look, ranked to me, like if you could scrim all the time versus like playing ranked, I think scrimming all the time would probably create better habits and probably make you a better player than playing ranked. Because I think, especially for someone of Demon One's talents, he could go into ranked and just like he could just destroy everyone. And if you do, I think if you do that too much, it's actually like a bad thing, right? Like I mean, you see like in like football coaching, for instance, for like if you're an upcoming prospect for a football team, you aren't allowed to play foot. Like they don't let you play football, or you're not supposed to play football when you're not with the team, right? One, to protect from injury, but two, because it like if you're playing against people who you're just clearly much better than, it teaches bad habits.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so look, it probably doesn't matter that much, to be honest. So I'm picking NRG. Go NRG.
Cool. Yeah, locked it in.
Okay, G2 versus EG. We've already seen this game before. Probably don't need to spend as long on this one, but I am still a bit interested. I'm going to go on the record and say that I'm an EG doubter as well. I have doubts for EG this whole year. But G2 have also made a roster change. They got rid of Net.
Yep.
And they brought in Icy.
Yep.
Now, I'm not that familiar with Icy. Do you know Icy?
I've heard the name around the tier 2 scene a bit. I know that there are quite a few people that think he's very good. And I'm speaking like from like the tier 2 players who think he's very good, like a high skilled player, somebody that they would like to duo with, somebody that they would like to play with. That type of vibe is what I've gotten. The interesting thing will be maybe the roles a little bit, just because I mean Net was obviously just like the clear Sentinel player, right? Icy has played a lot of Sentinel in the past. His most played agent is Killjoy. However, for the most recent team he was playing Smokes. Obviously Valen was playing Smokes for this team, and then Trent is playing like full-time Viper. So there is a little bit of, how will he fit in? I assume it probably won't be that bad, but I mean, he's kind of just like he's like a tier 2 grinder that's played like every role basically in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if he slots in relatively well. How will he fare compared to Net? Who knows? I mean, I think there's been rumblings behind the scenes that Net's kind of like had some issues. I mean, we know that he's had sort of like some issues with his like outside of the game in the past, and I think there's always been this sort of like specter over this team's like he's in my opinion he's clearly the most inconsistent player on this team and has been like forever.
Yeah.
Aside from the duelist kind of swapping that they've had to do with Saya leaving and that type of stuff, but as far as like the core four that has stayed together from the guard days, Net has always been the player that's like he's insane one game, he's completely absent in the next, and it's like
he's a bit of a mind freak.
Yeah, exactly.
In that kind of sense.
Exactly.
So, what do you think of EG though, as well?
EG is kind of an enigma to me. You know, it's just like they really are. I don't know what to think about this team. We didn't see nearly enough from kickoff to have, you know, a reasonable take on how they are going to be. I'm going to be honest, I keep forgetting like who's on this team. I know it's Derek, Superman, Jogamo, Nature, and
Proto. Oh, Apoth, not Proto.
Apoth, that's right. So yeah, I mean, skill wise, I think they're good, but it's just really a matter of how much can Potter develop them in like the month that she's had, really. And I would guess that G2 will probably be in a spot where it's like they just slot in another player. They hit a little bit of a honeymoon phase. They've been playing together for a long time. I would favor them just because of that. I don't know if I would necessarily pick EG to be worse than them over the course of the season, but I think in this game I would favor G2 personally.
Yeah, in my mind, what I'm seeing with EG is I think that they'll have a similar sort of year to like they start off slow again like they did last year. Obviously, I'm not expecting them to win champs, but I just mean that kind of like starting slow and getting better. I don't expect that they'll, you know, rocket ship up like they did, you know, like we saw last year for EG. But I do think that, you know, they'll steadily improve as the year goes on. And even though EG did beat G2 the first time, I'm gonna pick G2. So are we in agreement that G2? Are we both picking G2 to win this game?
Yes.
Which feels bad.
I think we are.
I feel like this is one where we should disagree.
I know. Okay, I'll do it for the culture. I'll take EG. Just for the surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if EG won, to be honest.
And we should say, guys, there's some real stakes on the line for these predictions. Me and TMV are going to be keeping score over the course of stage number 1, and whoever has the most predictions right across all regions totaled together will get to choose a VCT bundle for the other person to buy and rock, which means that if I win
for the whole till 2025.
If I win, TMV is buying the Gentle Mates one just so he has to stare at the logo forever.
I didn't think about that. I might just do the same to you. Okay. Next game. Oh, and one more point quickly though about G2 and EG, right? Because again, I'm a bit of a doubter of both these teams, and I did say I'm a bit of a doubter of both Cloud9 and Lev as well.
Yep.
I was on Platjack, like a month ago at this point, and I was getting argued at by 3 people that America's is clearly better than EMEA. But I like top to bottom. I think that right now, I mean, obviously Acend won, you know, and EMEA didn't do that great at Master Madrid. But the like middle to bottom of America's, I'm interested in your POV of this. I think it looks really shaky right now. And some of the like roster moves and stuff, you know, probably 1 or 2 of those teams will end up being decent. But I think like I don't know who that is, and I feel like there's mega questions about like a lot of America's teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot of people that are huffing the hopium for 100 Thieves. I mean, they could reasonably be terrible this year. It's certainly possible. I think everybody agrees that Fury is going to be bad. Crew seems like they're probably just not going to cut it against a lot of the teams. Cloud9 questions, G2 questions for sure, MIBR. Yeah, I mean, I think the fall off is certainly pretty fast once you get beyond like Sentinel's Energy Loud. Whereas in EMEA, I think you have to go down maybe like 5 slots before you start questioning stuff. But I also could see there being some surprises in Americas
Yeah.
and like some of these teams being pretty good. So yeah,
Speaking of
it's
teams that could be pretty good,
yep.
let's talk about Sentinels 100 Thieves.
Ooh, big clout
Because
match, clout
you
match.
talked about those 100 Thieves believers, and I'm one of them.
You are a 100 Thieves believer.
I'm a
Okay,
100 Thieves. I'm in on 100 Thieves.
and are you picking them to beat Sentinels? Is the
I am.
question. Okay,
I am picking 100 Thieves to beat Sentinels.
okay.
Let me explain why. A couple of reasons why, really. One, again, it just comes back to that kind of feeling of mine that the teams that, especially the teams that went deep in Madrid, might have a slower start than people expect. Because I mean, 100, like, think of all the VODs that 100 Thieves have, and they've had like a literal month to prepare for this game.
Hmm.
Like, they've had a lot of time to prepare for this game if they wanted to, and they've had a lot of footage of Sentinels to anti-strat. And if I was them, I'd just be hard working on Breeze and Icebox, and some of these maps that maybe, or Ascent, that maybe Sen have struggled on, or hard anting, or looking like, oh, how did Gen G beat Sentinels on split, that kind of stuff. You can really dive in deep. And Sentinels, even though these two teams played, of course, Sentinels will have no idea what 100 Thieves are going to do now, because they could have changed everything if they wanted to. They've had time to. The other thing is, Junk UT apparently is having visa issues as well, so he might not even play in this game. In which case, 100 Thieves should be favored pretty big, because Sentinel's playing
Yeah.
without their
Oh, because it
IGL.
would be Curry who would play.
Curry
And
would play, yeah,
right.
and I guess Celsius would probably IGL if I had to guess. So if that happens, then 100 Thieves should win this game. But even if it didn't, I don't know. I'm just having some faith, I guess, in. And I don't really know what caused it, to be honest, because I remember sitting here with you when a lot of people after 100 Thieves like went out and got eliminated at
Yeah.
kickoff. A lot of people were like, "Oh, 100 Thieves, they looked really good." And I was like, why are they getting so much praise for like losing?"
Right.
Like, why is this
Losing with
losing
with
team?
Boostio top fragging every game
Yes,
in the
yeah, like,
IGL
why
role.
is yeah, yeah, why is this team getting so much hype? But then I don't know. I honestly don't know what's caused it, but I think probably part of it is that I just have so much doubt everywhere else. And 100 Thieves, I think, with more time, like, and you saw little glimpses, of like, oh, that was like, and I think that's what it was, really, right? You saw little glimpses, or like they had like a good map of like, like Bind against Sentinels when they played, for instance, was really good. So
Mhm.
I think that's what people were holding on to, of like, oh, with more time, they could do this on like, almost all of the maps, right? And then they'd be really good. Uh, will that happen? We're yet to see. And obviously, I know that 100 Thieves fans will tell me, don't be stupid. This team will let you down. Welcome aboard. Prepare to be let down, because they will let you down. But yeah, I'm picking 100 Thieves. What say you?
I think you're nuts. I'm taking Sentinels like 90% chance that Sentinels wins this game.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? Wow.
and the reason for that is simply that I mean they just won a tournament. Like they're battle tested, they're ready. I think even if John Cutie can't play, I think
Even if.
I think even if John Cutie can't play, I think that this team is like they're so used to playing together and they'll literally just be
Mm,
like, all right, Curry, just do your thing. Like, who cares? And they'll just be vibing out and playing with like the freedom, knowing that nobody should really have expectations because they don't have their IGL. Um,
okay.
I
I
just
mean, it does help that you're replacing, like, Cody, if he does have to play, will probably just take John's role, you would have thought. And he can in a lot of maps just, be on the other side of the map on his own, and doesn't need to,
right.
you know, coordinate that much with the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like super down on 100 Thieves this season by any means. I just think that it's a spot where Sentinels has proven that they're a good team. They're a very good team. And 100 Thieves, it's like, I'm just not going to pick them until they show me that they're actually good. You know? Kind of like where I'm not going to doubt Sadak until he gives me a reason to doubt him. I'm not going to hype up 100 Thieves until they give me a reason to be like really impressed with them. And for me, watching Boostio basically have to 1v5 all of kickoff was not that inspiring.
Fair enough. That's fair enough, I think. Okay. The disagreement is good. I
Yeah.
I'm I'm so ready to get burnt by 100 Thieves. I've never been on it. I've always kind of been 100 Thieves doubter for all of their past
I
stuff.
know.
I've never really been in on them, so I'm
How does
excited.
it feel? How does it feel to
I
be
know it's
American
like
all of a
I
sudden?
yeah, I know it feels good right now. I'm sure it's gonna feel awful, and people are gonna mock me for it later down the line. Um, but yeah, I'm just in on 100 Thieves, I guess. And again, Sentinels fans, before they come at me, I don't think the Sentinels will be bad. I think the Sentinels will still be good, and I still think Sentinels will make Masters Shanghai. I just think they'll be off to a rockier start, especially if they don't have John. I mean, if they don't have John, if
Yep.
they don't have John, I feel like 100 Thieves should be favored. Surely, right? You still don't
Maybe.
think so? I think they should. Anyway,
I mean, maybe.
let's move on. Let's move on to Crew Furia. Furia? How do you say it? Is it Furia?
Furia, like
Is it
fury?
Furia? Is it that? I don't think it is. I think it's
No.
Furia, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
This is the last
you
game.
sound like a fool, yeah, to be saying that.
That was poor. Um, yeah, last game of America's here. And we don't need to spend that much time on it because I think of these two. I mean, I had them as the bottom two teams in my power rankings. What say ye?
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I'm gonna pick Furia, and I don't think it's close in this one because
I've picked Fury as well. Okay.
I mean,
Agree.
here's the main thing that you need to know for this one is that MTA looked like one of the best rookies in Americas. Broke his hand. He's no longer playing. Now Heat is playing, who is a duelist, and now they have Heat and Kesnet on the team. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Furia has picked up Noswer, who I think everybody believes in, or a lot of people believe in, and I'm certainly one of them. And I think you should believe in this guy. I think he's very good, and it just makes their team better because this is a team that was led by MW0, which is a huge mistake, and now they actually have some real leadership in the form of Noswer. And I think that should make this team much better than they were before. Not great, but certainly much better than they were before.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think, yeah, I agree. And I'm picking Furia too. So that's America's done.
America's is done.
Tune in next week, America's fans.
Yep.
For next week's games. Some big games in Americas. Let's quickly move on to China. And see, on a lot of other of these kind of shows or whatever, right, you might think like, oh, they know nothing about China, but you have had a pretty big Chinese focus. So you might know a bit more about, some of these lesser teams that I didn't watch as much, but I still have thoughts. I've watched everyone at least play
You
one
have
game, so
thoughts. That's good.
I
Means
do
you're
have
alive.
thoughts on it. I've watched at least one game of every single team. So I'm still very qualified to talk about them.
Perfect.
Billy versus Tai Lu is the first China game here, and Tai Lu, I believe, are the team that have made changes.
Yeah, they've made a couple, I believe.
Yes, they made a couple changes. Tai Lu were probably the worst team, I think, at kickoff. Certainly down there.
Yeah, they were down there with like Nova and
they lost 2-0 to Nova, so
all
yeah.
gamers, yeah.
So probably, arguably, the worst team got eliminated straight away. They're now playing against BLG. They've made some changes. BLG are a weird roster where obviously people know BLG, right? We know a decent portion of their names. They beat NRG last year, of course, the champs. Will Tyler's changes
good?
make any difference? Yeah.
But are they good is the question.
Well, yeah, that is a good question. And the answer is probably not really.
No.
But
No,
still
not
better
really.
than Tai Lu, I think. So I'm going to say BLG win.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. I mean, the pickup of Flexen is pretty interesting just because he's a pretty good player for Trace, but for whatever reason he's not playing on Trace anymore, even though Trace did reasonably well during kickoff. But yeah, I think that again, I'm just gonna go with like this team made changes, this team didn't make changes. Surely the team that didn't make changes must be decent at the very least, and so as a result, I'm just gonna go ahead and take them. So we'll go BLG. I know we're both just going to go Wolves on this next one, even though it's Wolves versus RB.
Don't need any discussion. Wolves are winning. Spring has literally sprung.
It is
at this
spring
point
now.
in the year. It is spring now. So
true.
It's springtime for Titan Esports Club. Let's put it that way.
I mean, to be fair, Titan did okay during kickoff. They weren't terrible. They got a win or two. I guess actually they beat JDG twice and they lost to basically everybody else who's
Yes.
better than them. So Wolves
Yeah.
were the surprisingly good team that almost beat EDG. And so I think that gave me a lot of hope that this team could be quite good this year.
Yeah. Go Wolves.
Go
Easy games.
Wolves.
Now here's the thing that's weird about China, and I don't know why they've done this because it doesn't look like they're doing this any other time. But in this first week, they've got multiple games on at the same time, according to VLR.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's I guess that's happening. I don't quite know why that's happening, but it is. And of course, again, Wolves are getting screwed here, having to play FPX the day after. Of course, Wolves are the team getting screwed by it. Classic refs again. Screwing us, but we'll get to that game in a second. First, DRG versus All Gamers. Now, if you will, please let me talk about DRG.
Yes.
Because DRG made the top 4, and my god, are they bad. My god, are they just... They're like... What I would describe it is, for those of you who didn't watch any DRG games, it's like watching FPX, but with, like, FPX every so often will have a good round. DRG is like them, but without the crazy comps
You
and
mean
without
Chinese
the good round.
FPX? Yeah.
Yeah. Chinese FPX, yeah, like the FPX that played at Madrid,
Yeah.
right? Every so often, that FPX will have a good round, and they play the weird comps, and it's kind of like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
DRG are like that, but they don't have the good rounds, and they play much more normal comps, and so it's just like people just going off on their own, doing whatever they want. And it's like none of it makes sense, but they have decent enough players to be able to win rounds against some of these bad Chinese teams. And luckily for them, All Gamers are a bad Chinese team, so they'll probably win.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely taking what teams are we talking about? No.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not taking All Gamers, I'll tell you that.
Welcome to the presidential debate 2024.
Whoa, okay. Moving on from that very, very bad comment by TMV. I mean, here's the thing. All Gamers were terrible. They've got one good player, and that's Monk, and Monk did not play well in their kickoff games. And honestly, this team, they might be on for a DFM this year because they did not look good. I don't think they're going to be good. And while Dragon Ranger Gaming is, like you said, not particularly good themselves, they do have at least Vukashu, who is not Chinese, but is straight up better than everybody else in the Chinese league except for the players on like EDG and FPX pretty much. So he'll win them the game. It doesn't really matter. We don't need to go too much into this. Maybe All Gamers will surprise, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and the same thing will be true for the next game as well. I think when Nova play Trace, and this is kind of much the same kind of deal when Nova were one of the worst teams, or at least looked like one of the worst teams at kickoff, and Trace actually I thought were decent. Like when I watched the DRG game against, I think did they play FPX? I think in the semis, DRG. Like I was like, oh my god, they're awful. Whereas when I watched the Trace EDG game to qualify, I didn't come away thinking that Trace were awful. I actually thought that Trace didn't look too bad. So I think that Trace are the third best team in China, in my opinion, just behind and could even be better than FPX. I don't know. So this one for me is pretty simple. I'm going Trace.
Yeah, I think Trace is the clear pick here. Nova looked very outmatched at most of the kickoff games, and I mean Trace has some very good players like Fang. Fang is incredible. Hebe is good as well. Kai is very good. And even though they made a change, they picked up Lua King and also a coach, and also Flexen, obviously no longer on the team. But I still think that this team is just overall better. Again, like 1-to-1 player than everybody on Nova, pretty much. And they should handle this pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got EDG versus JDG. Now, I'm just going to pick EDG in every Chinese game until someone actually proves they can beat them. Am I wrong for doing so?
I don't think so. I mean, God, they looked terrible at Madrid. I really don't know what to think about this team. I kind of hope that they get slammed and make a roster move. But I think you're probably correct in just picking them until a Chinese team proves that they can beat them. JDG is, I think there is a little bit of interesting stuff to talk about in this match, just because JDG, for those who don't remember, is essentially Rare Atom, right? It's the same team as Rare Atom minus their IGL, which was
Turns out a big deal.
yeah, it turns out maybe was the wrong move. They kept Stu, who is kind of like lighting the world on fire. It was Yeoman and Stu, who are both Korean players, when they won the Ascension tournament as Rare Atom. JDG picked them up, and because they're in the league, they had to drop one of their Korean players. They chose to go with Stu, who basically put up like tens at Reykjavik numbers for the entire Ascension tournament on Duelist, and they allowed Yeoman to go back to Korea, I believe. He might actually be on a Japanese team. I can't remember now. But anyway, then they looked pretty bad at kickoff. They did lose to RB's Titan Esports team twice. They beat All Gamers, who were terrible. So there's not a whole lot to really take away from that, other than maybe they were lacking structure. I don't know.
Maybe an IGL change is big deal.
Yeah, I mean they clearly have good players. They clearly have good players, but you know, and I guess like you said, until a team in China proves they can beat EDG, I think you just kind of have to keep picking them. So if I was going to take a flyer on this one, I would pick JDG, but I think I'm just going to go with EDG as the safe pick.
Okay, and then finally, a very interesting game. Again, Wolves getting absolutely screwed by the schedule here. The only team I think here that has to play 2 days in a row. Why that is the case, I have no idea. But they're playing FPX as well, so a nice easy game for Wolves as well, coming off the first game. I am going to say I do want to create a bit of a TMV's lore here when it comes to these kind of games, which is that people often think that like playing straight like back-to-back kind of stuff is often like a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an advantage.
Because you're in the rhythm.
I think it's an advantage, and I think you see oftentimes when a team has to play like a game and then the next day they have to play and their opponents haven't, that they actually tend to win the game. I actually think that, yeah, just being kind of in the rhythm, like just going into it, like just playing, like teams always say, like, oh, we didn't play our game, right? If we just played our game, we would win. And then after teams win, you often see they'll say, yeah, we just played our game, right? When you're like having to play back to back and all the time, like you don't have time to think about your opponent that much, so you just end up playing your game and just being in the server and being present and kind of just you're in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Wolves actually have a chance. In this, I'm going to pick Wolves just because I'm going to pick Wolves to win every game, I think. And we'll see how that goes. But you can go and make the case for FPX.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to pick FPX because they have been, playing against better teams than anyone else in China, except for EDG, for the last little bit. I don't know how much they actually got to scrim and stay in EMEA. Probably wasn't too much, but I'm sure they got some decent scrims while they were there. I'm actually pretty sure that when we asked the Acend guys when we were in Bulgaria that they had scrimmed FPX. I'm like 99% sure I remember somebody saying that. So certainly got some good scrim quality there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I think honestly I'm probably going to go FPX here just because I think there is a chance that the player caliber on FPX is a little bit higher. I know that Wolves are good, and I think this is more of a coin flip than people might think if they've only ever watched FPX play, and most people probably are just going to take FPX because, like, hey, they were at Masters. So I do think this is kind of a coin flip, but I'm going to go with FPX this time, but I don't fault you for picking the Wolves by any means.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, when FPX scrimmed Ascend, they must have thought, who are these guys? These guys are copying us with that comp that Ascend are playing with the Harbor and the Sage and stuff. They must have thought, wait, they're copying our ideas.
Yeah.
These EMEA teams. Anyway, yeah, that's China. I really, really hope that we see better performances from China. I really hope that as we go forward, we can get, just some better overall play because. One of the best thing, the literal best thing I think about Valorant esports is the fact that all the regions are so balanced.
Yeah.
I think that is literally the best thing because, like, imagine if they weren't, right? Like, imagine we had Pacific, and a lot of esports do have this, right? Where, like, imagine if Pacific was just awful, right? And it's like, well, what's the point even talking about them? Because it's like, who cares?
Right.
I don't want China to become that. I do think with time, obviously, China, will become, the game's overlords potentially, like a lot of other games. But we're still some way off that yet, it seems. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because we were like, oh, this is probably the year we start to see them evolve quite a bit, and then it's like,
Nope.
all of them, including EDG, look pretty rough right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes, not a great start. On to EMEA, which is well, I mean, a couple of these teams have made changes as well, but I think it's much more like solid. And I think the EMEA will be quite fun to watch. I think there'll be a lot of interest and intrigue in EMEA this year because I think with the addition of Carmine Core and Heretics, I think there's now like a good
There's a real
I would
shakeup.
say
Yeah.
I would say there's a good 6 teams that I'm like, I think that these teams are good, like if not better than good, right? In EMEA, I'll name them if you want. They're Carmine Core, Navi, Fnatic, Heretics, Vitality, and Foot. I
Okay.
think will all be good, if all better than
Liquid
good.
slander.
And Liquid could be, which then would be interesting as well because there's only 6 playoff spots. So if there are 7 good teams, great. Because that makes it even more competitive. So let's start off then. Carmine Core versus Giant X. And the boys at Giant X have made a roster change themselves. And it's going to be a bit of a role swap, I think, as well. Because Nookie is gone. And I know a lot of people were pretty surprised by this because Nookie is pretty good. And so Nookie's gone from Giants and they're bringing in Purpo, I think.
Yes, who was the sub for Mech back in the day.
Yeah, some of you may recognize the name Purpo. Yeah, he played for Mech, I think. He's, kind of been in tier 2 for a while as a duelist player, and I think Purpo is coming in to play duelist, and Fatinho is going to play Nookie's role.
I think I heard that Fatinho is going to play Flex, which is kind of
Flex.
The weird thing is that Nookie has always kind of been the flex player, right? He's played Raze for this team, but then he's also played Sentinel.
A lot of Sentinel, yeah.
Yeah, this year he's been primarily on the Sentinel role, but he's kind of just been sort of slotted in. He's played a lot of Sova as well in his career, which is interesting. Fatinho, if I remember correctly, has basically only played Duelist for the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, he's got massive amount of games on Jet and Raze, and then he has like a very small smattering on some other agents. So
yeah,
this.
So I guess Hoodie's playing Sentinel, I would guess.
Yeah, I think it might be like a triple role swap for this team. Or like double role swap plus a new player into a role is what's happening here.
Well, I mean that doesn't bode too well, and I think Carmine Core are just better than Giants, right? Is there any doubt to that statement?
No, I mean, the only thing that you would maybe say is like, did Carmine Core get their confidence shattered a little bit? Yeah. I would say probably not. I think this one shouldn't be very close. I like Carmine Core potentially has the best player in all of EMEA on their team. And they certainly have some
wild
good
things to say, but I think it's true.
It
could be true.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's basically you take a team that they had a little bit of a setback, but they still looked pretty good. They looked okay. They looked decent. we'll say they looked decent at Madrid. I think their inexperience showed, but now they're coming back to comfort zone. They're playing the EMEA teams that they know, and they're playing a team that is in chaos. So I'm just gonna lock in Carmine Core and not really think too much about
I think Carmine Core might have the opposite of like the Fnatic, like lethargic. We're not that. We're not that hungry
now.
Yeah, the Carmine Core like will have come off Madrid and the way that it ended and feel like, okay, that was a first step. And now we're gonna now we've learned from that and we're gonna go and destroy everyone. I feel like that could be on the cards for them. So yeah, I'm gonna be picking Carmine Core as well. No surprise, just there. Our next game though is Koi Team Liquid. Probably don't need to spend too long on this one. There's no roster changes, I don't think, for this. Koi did beat Liquid at kickoff. Can it
which
happen
is
again?
crazy. Yeah, I mean, so this is the weird thing. It's like we saw Koi in playoffs, and good lord, were they bad? Like it was just very clear in the playoffs. There's like three teams that were in the playoffs that were good, and then there was Koi, and it's like, how did this team make it into playoffs? They're not even close to the caliber of the other ones there. Is Liquid? Surely Liquid can win this, right?
Surely, right? I, I mean, I don't know. Man, I don't know. Liquid should beat Koi. Liquid are a better team than Koi.
Yes.
So I think that Liquid will win. They actually did beat Koi as well the first time these two teams played. So I do think that Liquid will win. I would not be shocked if Koi did win though, which is not good for Liquid. If I'm not shocked that Koi will win, because I'm just with you that I don't have a ton of faith in Koi, to be honest, but then I don't with Liquid either. So that's actually a really hard game to pick, but I think we'll both begrudgingly pick Liquid.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said playoffs. I meant the play-in stage.
Yeah. I knew what you meant.
Yeah. I was Carmine Core, Vitality, and then boy in the play-in stage.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think you're correct in saying it's like they should win, but if they don't, then we're maybe looking at like a 2-win or 1-win season for Liquid here, because
Yeah,
if
which
if,
will
if
be
they if they can't
very
win this
bad.
one, then it's yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if they do lose, I mean, it's not looking good for Liquid, to be honest. Like, it's really not, because again, I named 6 teams that I definitely feel better than Liquid about,
Mm-hmm.
and if only 4 teams go to champs, like that's a they've taken a step back.
Yeah.
They will have literally taken a step back, which is obviously not where you want to be. For Team Liquid, let's move on to a good game. Potential absolute banger game. Team Vitality versus Navi. Now remember, Team Vitality had Destrian for kickoff, but that was only because Trex, I think, couldn't get a visa in
Mm-hmm.
time for that. So uh, I think Trex will be playing for Vitality here, and we should have 2 teams that are, aiming to go to Shanghai. I think both these teams are teams that now I think will have that in their sights.
Mm-hmm.
What say ye, Mr. Elevated Speaks?
Oh man, this is
Tough one.
this is a tough one for sure. Um, the vitality that we saw, obviously they didn't have Trex. They still looked pretty good, but they weren't like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, like they're going to be insane this year. You know, I feel like I'm still a little bit worried about this like safe not playing duelist situation that's happening, and
Yep.
and like how the roles are actually going to shake out on this team. Um, I mean, obviously the pickups of kicks and runner have looked really good. There's no doubt about that. Um, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Navi just because, like, I mean, here's the thing. I would almost say that Navi are in a similar situation as Liquid in the fact where it's like, if they don't win this game, they may have some very serious problems this year, because what we saw at kickoff was it looked like it was good, and then the team like imploded, and we are like, what the hell happened to this team? Because they looked really good at first, and then they looked really awful for the next couple of games. And I think, to be fair, the competition level was like, oh well, they got maybe kind of surprised by Heretics, but I think
Mhm.
even against Liquid, they didn't look like particularly good. They looked fine, but it's like Liquid is not a good team, and they did lose a map to BBL, and so I think there was some shakiness, and I guess maybe losing to Heretics in hindsight is not really that big of a deal, but at the same time, this is a team where it's like they brought back artists. This is supposed to be the fix. If it doesn't fix the team,
What next? Yeah.
what are they supposed to do, right?
Yeah, I agree. I still have faith in them
Hmm.
because I think, and you're right. The first game against BBL, they lost on Biden. And I was like, oh my god, what's going on? But then they looked really good in the other two maps. Then when they played Liquid, it was kind of a weird game where they looked good for like a half,
Hmm.
and then they were like playing down. It felt like to Liquid's level for a half, and then they would
Hmm.
like wake up and be like, "Oh, we're way better than this team. Let's just win."
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of a weird game. And then, as you say, they got kind of slapped by Team Heretics, um, which again maybe isn't the biggest deal in the world because I don't think Heretics were better than perhaps people realized at the time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's not the biggest deal in the world. But now playing against Vitality, I agree with you. Kicks and Runner, I think looked good. I was particularly impressed with Kicks. Like Kicks to me looked like the only player who knew how to play the new Sky.
Interesting.
Like really well. He would always have he'd always have his utility like when he needed it.
Mhm.
If it was late in a round, he'd still have it, and it was like, oh, he always is finding value from this from his Sky flashes, which you
Mhm.
cannot say for a lot of other Sky players who are just throwing them out
Yeah.
and just not
Having no
finding value
util.
from it. Yeah, he was finding a lot of value from it. So I was very impressed with him, but I don't know. Yeah, I still I Vitality are one of those teams where I still feel like I need to see it first. Like
Mhm.
I personally would probably still have Foot over Vitality. Um just because I feel like I with Foot I can kind of see it, and like last year we already did kind of see it a bit.
Mhm.
Um with Vitality I'm still a little wait and see. I do trust that they are good, and I don't think they'll be bad. I trust that this will be competitive, and I think it will be a 2-1 and close. But I still need to know that they can go and beat a Navi. Like I'm for Vitality's sake, if they go and beat Navi 2-0, I'll be like, good for you, Vitality, because
Mhm.
then I can just be totally in like, okay, you are gonna be competing, for these tournaments. Whereas right now, I'm still a bit like, you'll make playoffs, but I'm not sure if you will. I'm not sure if you're good enough to actually do it.
Right. Right.
That's what I want to see. So yeah, Vitality, go and prove me wrong. So I'm picking Navi. Are you picking Navi?
Yeah, I think I gotta go with Navi. I think maybe the loss to Heretics will be a little bit of a wake up call for this team. I don't think that they're
Yeah.
washed yet, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then we've got, speaking of Team Heretics, they're playing Fnatic. Now, this is
This
maybe,
this one's over. Fanatics winning this. It's not even
yeah,
close.
Fnatic are winning for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
This might have actually been a bit of a blessing for Heretics to play Fnatic first, because even with their full team, I don't think they would have won against
Right.
Fnatic,
Right.
because I think Fnatic will very much want to show, like, oh, that was a little blip of us making a mistake of not prepping hard enough.
Yeah.
We're going to stomp you,
Yeah.
and we are going to remind everyone we are Fnatic. Also, Team Heretics, though, are going to be playing, I think, without two players.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so they have no chance. They're going to be playing, I guess, with Weber.
Oh yeah. I mean, if
I
that's
think.
if that's the case, I obviously no offense to Weber, but if that's the case, like this could be like a 13-1, 13-0 type
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, because Mini Boo I think has exams and so could never make week one,
Right.
and then I think Woot has visa issues as well, so is gonna
Yep.
miss the first game. So
Yep.
yeah, they're gonna be down two players, and obviously Patitek is still subbing in
Yep.
as one of the players, but then they're gonna need someone else as well. So yeah, they shouldn't really have a chance in this one. And as I said, maybe it's good for Heretics, like, oh, maybe we weren't going to beat Fnatic, even with our full team, so we maybe got a bit lucky to draw them first, and then we can just, win our other games against, easier opponents.
They need to
Is one
bring
way to look at it.
Mixwell out of retirement for this
Oh,
one.
that actually would be kind of cool, though, to be fair. Just get Mixwell for a game. That actually
Yeah.
would kind of be pretty cool. So yeah, both going Fnatic. Team
Yeah.
Heretics, we'll see you next week,
Yeah.
where we can actually discuss your actual team. Okay. Then the Friday games, Team Liquid versus Foot. Now, I've already kind of given you a little bit of a hint of where I'm at with Foot. I'm a Foot believer. To be fair, the weird thing about Foot is the superstar player that they brought in is perhaps their biggest doubt,
Right.
because
Yeah.
CNED didn't look amazing. Whereas and obviously at the time, I think everyone was going, "Oh my God, Foot, they aren't that good, right? They lost to Army Core and Heretics. Like, oh my God, this team isn't that
Right.
good." But
But
now we
all the
know that
games were
obviously,
close.
yeah, now
And
we know
yeah.
that they lost a couple close games to Army Core and Heretics. The two teams actually went to Madrid, so
Yeah.
it doesn't look nearly as bad. And they almost like, oh, could have easily 2-0'd Army Core. They lost a 20-18 overtime,
Which is
and then what?
insanity.
Yeah, and then won the next map 13-4. So
Right.
Comico very easily could have been going home as well from Foot. So I still have some Foot hopium. I do think that the CNED performance is a concern, but I still think that the rest of the team, even if CNED does continue to struggle, the rest of the team I think is still good enough to beat Team Liquid, for instance. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a like a weird prediction for me because I almost feel like if I pick Foot, then I need to go back and pick Koi because like if I pick Liquid here, or if I pick Liquid against Koi, then I feel like maybe they get confidence from that first win, and then they can beat a team that is like we're not really sure what they're gonna bring to the table. I mean, I do agree with your assessment and the fact that obviously losing to Karmine Core and Heretics in kickoff in hindsight is like not that bad. And also, I would say I'm a little bit less of a CNED doubter than you are because I think that he
Okay.
actually looked decent on Raze and Yoru and all the stuff they were asking him to play. I don't think he's like quite as much of like a jet one trick as people say. Um, but at the same time, you know, they were doing stuff like they went away from the KO spam that they were doing. They were playing quite a bit of Gecko, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but like KO is still good, and we know that KO Gecko might be like the best combo of initiators, and like you have this KO player who's insane. Why not just lean into that? So I certainly have some doubts about Foot overall. Um, but yeah, it's like now, okay, if I want to pick Foot, which my head says pick Foot, then I kind of want to go back and then just say Liquid's going to go 0-2 because I feel like it would be funnier for them to just have like a disaster first week, you know?
I might have to buy you this liquid capsule when you lose the picks.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, go and do it. Do it. Change it to liquid losing twice because that is funny. You should do it.
It is funny. But no, I think I'm gonna go with the narrative that Liquid's just gonna be incredibly mid and they're gonna come out 1-1. I'm gonna take
Well,
Foot.
that's what I've gone for as well. So yeah, we're both going Foot.
Yep.
It wouldn't shock me if Liquid did win. To be honest, it wouldn't completely shock me.
Yeah.
But I do think the Foot will be the better team. So yeah, both picking Foot, and then you've got BBL versus Gentlemates to
Ooh
close
boy, let's go.
a
Everyone's
game
favorite
that
game of the week.
I think I'll be playing football with my friends.
Not gonna watch party, the blasphemy.
Well, I think I might find an excuse for most BBL games. Uh, not watch like I did with DFM last year. Until they can prove themselves. That said, with all of that said, I'm picking BBL to win this game.
Why?
I just hate the Gentlemates logo. I don't have a lot of faith in Gentlemates. I think that they're one-dimensional, and I think their one dimension isn't very good.
Okay.
I think that they play a ton of double duelist and just try and, surprise pick people with that. And, they play a super aggressive kind of in-your-face style. And to be fair, BBL are probably the one team that I think, will take the bait, and just try. And this will just be a horrific, horrendous brawl of a game.
Yep.
That's what we're in. That's what you're gonna watch. Again, I'm not gonna watch it, but that's what everyone else is gonna see on Friday night. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm picking BBL. I think
Alright.
everyone will win a game in EMEA at least, and I think this is maybe BBL's best chance.
Alright, well I'm gonna take Gentlemates and I hope that I win this prediction contest by one game and it happens to be this one that
Yeah.
made the difference just so I can
Oh,
make
I'll be
you...
picking against Gentlemates plenty. So if you wanna believe in Gentlemates, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think that if you just look at kickoff, obviously that's all the data that we have. It's not very much, but Gentlemates played a fairly close game against Vitality. They lost to Vitality twice. It's the only team they actually lost to. They just played Vitality twice. Unfortunate. Lost both times. One of them was a 3-game, pretty close match. BBL, on the other hand, lost 0-2 to Koi. And we know what we think
That is
about
quite
Koi.
bad. That is quite bad.
So I'm going to take
Losing
Gentlemates
2-0
just
to
based
Koi.
off of that.
That's completely fair. I wiped that game from my memory. I did watch it, but I have wiped that game from my memory. They lost 0-2 to Koi, and it was a 13-5 on bind
Yeah.
and a
I'm,
13-10 on split. Oh my goodness.
I'm taking the mates. I'm taking the Gentlemates 8,
Oh my
M8.
goodness. Oh no. I'll stick with it. I'll stick with BBL, but
All
I
right.
don't feel good about it, clearly. Yeah, let's move on from that mess. Holy. Thank God I'm not watching that game. And then yeah, finally, the last region, Pacific. Last but not least, a lot of people did think it was going to be least for Pacific, but I think after the performance of Gen G, and somewhat, well, we'll talk about Paper Rex when
Ooh,
we
we've
get there.
got some bangers in Pacific. There's some really interesting
Yeah,
matchups.
let's talk about these games. So, first game, not what I think you would call a banger.
I think it's a
Although,
banger just because the two fan bases, the
yeah,
two
it's
question marks,
freaking
like that's the thing is like all of these games are either like going to be bangers because of the teams or bangers because of like
the
what the fuck are
narratives.
we going to see here?
Yeah, yeah. This is like I don't even know. This is like a car crash. You know, like that you kind of can't look away from, even though you know it's coming. That's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at global esports playing Zeta
You're
Division.
such a Zeta hater. How dare you?
Yeah, I am a Zeta hater. Uh, and I'm not
Confirmed.
any higher on global.
Japan at Thinking Man Valo on Twitter. If you want to direct any sort of DMs that way, you know he
There's
likes.
no way I'm picking global in this game, is there? There's no way I'm that low on Zeta that I'm picking global.
Surely not. Surely not.
I don't know. I really wasn't impressed with Zeta. They did beat global earlier on. Okay, okay. Not only did they beat them 13-8, 13-3. That's all I need to see. In fact, they beat them twice. But Jesus, they only beat global.
Did you see the okay, so a couple things. Global just unveiled their new jersey. Kind of spicy, kind of like it, pretty cool. Got a big tiger on it. Looks nice.
Cool.
Uh might be a lion, not sure. But regardless, they've got a cat on
Probably
their
is.
on their they've got a cat on their jersey now.
Probably is
Um
a lion, surely, right? Like
you would hope
with
that
the
they have
player card.
coordinated it with their player card,
Yeah.
but it kind of looked like a tiger to me. Um anyway, also they had a little vlog that somebody picked out on
Yeah.
Reddit where did you see this one where
I saw part of it.
their
Like
coach
I
was
saw the
talking about
comments,
how
yeah.
they were winning a lot with their solo controller bind comp and they were surprised that it didn't work.
Yeah, that's tough. That's really, really tough because I mean, this is the thing that like gets me about that as well is like to me, not only is it like a what are you doing, but it's even like a misunderstanding of like how Viper works as well.
Yeah.
Right? And like why Viper is good on bind.
Yeah.
Like it's a misunderstanding of that.
Yeah.
And it's like how did we get to this? I don't know. You go. You go.
Okay,
Talk about this game. I don't want to talk about this game.
I'm just picking Zeta Division because I think that they have better firepower. And that might sound a little bit surprising because Zeta Division is not necessarily known for their firepower. But I just think that Global has like one player who can shoot, and Zeta Division have at least three. So I'm just going to do simple math and pick Zeta Division. I'm not particularly high in Zeta Division, unfortunately, as much as I would like to be a true Zeta Sigma male or whatever whatever the Zeta fans are called. But
What did you eat this morning?
clearly not enough or something. I don't know. You know, a little lightheaded talking about this, but I
How have we
think
spent this much time on this game? There's
I
no
think
way we're spending this long on this game.
I think I'm just gonna pick Depp. Depp is gonna win this game.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna pick Zeta as well because I forgot how bad Global were, and just I need to get, I need to be reminded. Apparently, Zeta are winning. Team Secret versus DRX though is a game that I think is much more interesting to pick. Now,
Yes.
again, I don't get that much the whole Team Secret love. To me, the Team Secret like fan club that which seems to have emerged. Anytime I talk about Pacific, people are always like, "Oh, what about Team Secret? But don't you think Team Secret are good? What about Team Secret? They almost beat Gen G." And that's what it always seems to come back to. That they almost beat a team that did well at Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to not give that much credit to teams who don't win games. Like that, like if you lose to me, like performance does matter, and not
Mm-hmm.
getting like if you get blown out, that's a bad sign, right? But in that Gen G game, sure, they could have beaten Gen G, like it was close.
They beat
And
Genji on Breeze when Genji was playing Old Sky.
yeah, and they
Or
were
New
still
Sky.
running, yeah, they
Yeah.
were running a bad comp. Let's put it that way. I mean, they still
Yes.
do, but they somehow still win. But I also think that like Gen G were a bit of a different team. You know, I do think that Gen G improved like as they went on. I don't think that they just stayed statically the same because otherwise they would have beaten Paper Rex in the first game, right? Like, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been close like it was in Madrid, right? Like Paper Rex got better from like kickoff to Madrid, but the
Yes.
early Paper Rex still beat Gen G. Like to me, they were a very, very different team by the time that they got to Madrid, and you know were playing in like meaningful games. Like to me, they were quite a bit better overall. I thought Gen G. So I'm not that big of a Team Secret. Like I think the Team Secret are fine. You know, I think the Team Secret are like just the meridian point of maybe all like if we ranked all of the 44 teams, Team Secret
Meridian
might
point
come
is
22nd.
crazy.
They might come 22nd.
You mean median?
Well, a prime meridian is the middle, no? Meridian. It yeah. Meridian meaning. Meridian, an imaginary circle or closed curve on the surface of a sphere or globe-shaped body that lies in a plane passing through the poles. Yeah, meridian, like a line intersecting the Earth in the middle.
That's what Team Secret is. They're a
Yeah,
secret line intersecting the Earth. Okay, fair enough.
yeah, like the equator is.
No further questions.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, that Team Secret would be 22 out of 44. Am I wrong?
Uh,
They might be a little lower, honestly. But
yeah. I mean, I feel like
they're just okay.
they're just an okay team. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, but so is DRX at this point. Is DRX
That's the
good?
point. That's the real question when it comes to picking this game. Like,
Yeah.
are DRX good?
Yeah.
I am gonna pick DRX. I think that again, like if Team Secret are kind of the midpoint line, I think DRX are just keeping their head above that line. They're like, you know, that little meme of the kid who's like just keeping their head above. That's DRX right now. You know, like you've got the picture of like the Gen G as the kid being lifted up, and you know DRX are like just the ones keeping their head above the water, and then you know, and then DFM are the skeleton.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So
That's my and Team Secret is the water level.
So one thing we also definitely need to touch on here is DRX is playing with a roster move because Bane is now playing. They didn't announce who he's playing for. I think
This
everybody
is
just
the thing.
assumes it's Foxy9.
Yeah,
I
but
assume.
I that's the thing. They haven't. If it's Mako, then I'm picking Secret.
Well, the weird thing is that Bane is a duelist player.
They're all duelist players.
That is true. That is true. They all are duelist players.
But yeah, get Foxy out of there.
But then Foxy was playing Viper, so then they're gonna have like a double role shift.
I don't care.
I'm picking Secret.
Okay, good for you.
I think I'm wrong, but I'm gonna pick Secret because I don't know what the fuck DRX.
No, I did initially like when I was looking at the picker, I did initially click on Secret, but then I kind of changed my mind.
That's fine. I mean, I think I'm wrong picking Secret in this game. I just want to put that out there. I think I'm wrong. I think that DRX is going to win this game, but I'm going to pick Secret because I don't know what DRX is doing. And that
I
just
mean,
goes,
yeah, it would not shock me if Secret won whatsoever. If DRX are just trolling and just, yeah, wouldn't
yeah.
surprise me one bit. Speaking of teams who were trolling, Bleed Talon.
Oh boy.
Bleed. Are you still in on Bleed? Do you still believe in Bleed at all?
No, but I'm going to pick Bleed.
See, I've picked Talon.
I think that's totally fair.
My Bleed stocks, obviously they brought in Zest. Obviously that happened a while ago. We knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't believe in Bleed. I'm just out on Bleed. I think
You're
Bleed
out.
might beat. I'm completely out. I think they might beat Global and DFM. But that's it. I think I'm gonna pick against them again until they prove otherwise. Until they prove that they can do something. I'm just out. I'm out.
Yeah.
Talon. Well, let's talk about Talon for a bit as well.
Yeah,
because
let's talk about Talon because I think this is actually a very interesting team this year.
Talon were a weird one. They had a bit of a weird kickoff where they came out and beat Team Secret 2-0, and it was like, oh, okay, Talon might actually be pretty good. Then they lost to DRX, and then they just lost to Team Secret in the rematch, and it was like, maybe not. See, Talon, I would say, are like just below the line, the Team Secret line.
The prime meridian, the secret meridian.
Yeah. The water level, they're just below it. You know, they're struggling. They're gasping for air. You know, just desperately trying to get any air they can. That's where I feel like Talon are, but I feel like Bleed are the skeleton. You know, Bleed they've got like an anchor tied to them.
Are you calling Ye an anchor dragging this team down, dragging every team he joins
that
down?
was not a reference to
TMV is saying
player.
that as you're saying that Ye is washed. He's just a heavy cannonball dragging every team that he plays on to his
Let's
doom.
continue the water metaphor. Bleed have washed up on shore. Yes, they have washed up on the shore before the season has even begun. I just don't. I'm just gonna need to. You're just gonna. We put them third in our power rankings, and I'm not forgiving them. Well, I'm not forgiving you, to be honest, because really it was your take.
It was me.
It was you who believed because you gave an interview to someone. Someone finally talked to you, and you were like, "Well, your team's so good. Wow, your team's so good," and I just don't believe it until we see it. So yeah I'm going to Talon.
Okay, so I do want to talk a little bit more about Talon because I think they are kind of an interesting. They're just a weird team because, like you said, they came out. They looked kind of like they were going to be crazy, right? They were playing some like hyper aggressive neon Yoru stuff. Everybody on the team was popping up. Ban was popping off. Governor was popping off. But now they've also made at least one roster move. Surf is joining the team. Surf is a duelist player.
Surf actually playing though? I just thought he was a sub.
I think he's playing.
I mean, if he's playing, then I don't know what to think. I'm still picking them though.
I could be wrong. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this team is one where it's like if they get their shit together, maybe they're crazy good. Maybe they're a top 4 team. But if they don't get their shit together, maybe they're just the team that's running around with no structure and losing because they can't stop swinging when they're supposed to. And so here's the deal. I'm going to pick Bleed. And the only reason I'm picking Bleed is because I'm just going to choose to believe that they're going to put Ye full time on op. They're going to go back and they're going to have watched every Optic VOD. And they're just going to be like, oh, that's why Ye was good. And they're just going to make him op and play by himself with the op constantly, and he's going to carry the game. And again, this is almost similar to my take where I'm picking Secret, but believing that I'm wrong. I'm picking Bleed. It's probably going to be Talon, but I'm going to take Bleed, and we'll just go with that.
Can I just say as well to all of the Pacific people, the schedule people at Pacific, big thank you, and I hope you carry on with this, just putting the good games as the second game in the day. So it makes it, I can just miss, like if I want to, I can just go like, oh, it's Global Zeta, I'll have a little extra sleep, and get up for the second game, and just not watch some of these bad first games because it's quite nice of them to schedule, like because the next game is T1 Paper Rex, and that one I will be wide awake for, ready
Banger.
for banger game. Yes.
Banger game.
Now there is just a little bit of news we might want to get to in this one, before we dive
Wait,
into
what
the game.
happened? What happened?
Just a small little tiny thing. Turns out Jing's back.
Jing is back! Jing is back! My goat!
I really didn't need you to do that. Again, I can't see him. He can see me, but I can't see him, so I was not prepared for that.
Return of the Jing! The Jing has returned!
Okay, Return of the Jing is the best one you've done, I think, today. Yeah, Jing's back. Poor Monyet. Poor Monyet. I mean, I know we kind of had some fun with Monyet, Monye, Monyoy.
Is he now officially permanently Monyoy on the bench?
He's
Because
now.
he's playing 0 games and fragging 0 times.
I do feel bad for him because it wasn't like he
Yes.
was playing bad enough to not
No.
be playing, but obviously
No.
like Jing is just Jing's one of one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is no way on Jing's return that Paper X lose.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it's just like,
Even though I think T1 are good, I put them 10th in my global power ranking.
but it's so crazy because with Jing back, I mean, surely they're going to have to change their comps. Because Jing doesn't play smokes. And Monyet was playing smokes in like half of the comps. And he was playing KO at one point. Jing plays 2 characters. He plays Phoenix and he plays Raze. That is it. That's all he's ever played. I think maybe he played Reyna one time. But he plays 2 characters. He plays both of them as the best in the world on both of those characters. But he doesn't play anything else. So
Doesn't matter.
I
I think honestly it might help them. I think it might help them because I feel like that, other than maybe Sunset, I think that they were struggling with comps.
Yeah.
I think that there was a big Jing shaped hole of like they didn't know like what to do, and sometimes they were like, for instance on Ascent they were just like saying, oh man, yeah, just play Raze, I guess, on Ascent.
Mhm.
Even though that's not like the normal pick, even though they could have very easily, I think, maybe built something different, for that map. They're just like, just this is the ideas we've got this for this map, so just run with it, right? Whereas now when Jin comes back in, I think it will make it easier for them. I think the Monyet thing, they didn't know whether to, they were kind of 50-50, as you said, like,
Yeah.
sometimes it was like, oh, well, Monyet's probably better on smokes, so let's just put him on smokes. But then sometimes it's like, well, we kind of have always played, Raze, and we build around Raze on this map, so we got to play Raze. Whereas I feel like this will just make it easier for them, right? Like, Jink's going to play Raze. It's fine. Whatever, right? You've got the best Raze in the world. Raze is good. Play Raze, right? Stop banning Breeze again. No problem. Play Raze everywhere else. We're chilling.
Yeah, I mean, to be
yeah.
fair, they went 0-4 on Lotus at Madrid. I think Jing instantly upgrades that comp to potentially winning. They play Raze on Ascent. They did okay on Ascent. They play Raze on Split. Jing instantly upgrades that comp to probably winning. Yeah.
Bind, you're playing Raze.
Bind, yeah.
Sunset, you're playing Raze. Like, it's fine.
I think one thing that's really important about Jing is that I think that he kind of enables something to actually play the game. Because I think something is, you're laughing, but I think that something is not really an entry player. I think he's better as the second one in. Because when he goes in first, he tends to, like, he's really good at entry fragging because he's like so fast and flicky with his aim where he'll like find these kills. But I think he tends to be like way over aggressive in those spots, and he's like way too deep, whereas Jing kind of goes like the right amount in, and then something comes in and trades Jing very easily. And I think that Monyet had like a few moments of doing that okay, but it was never consistent enough for something to like find his slot, because like the spacing as you come into a site is like really, really fucking important. And I think that obviously they had like a whole year of like, top 2 in the world to figure this out last year. And so probably just everything will kind of slot in better. So yeah, as much as I want to pick T1 because I think they're a very good team, I kind of agree that probably this will just fix the team.
Yeah. And we should talk a little bit about T1 because
Yeah, 100%.
they were a good team, and I do think that they
also
will
get
be
a free
good.
win this week because they're playing DFM afterwards. But
Yeah, that's nice. That's always a nice thing for them. Yeah, more games in Pacific again. The different regions are handling the schedule a bit differently, I guess.
Yeah.
We got 4 days of Pacific to go through. Again, DFM. Will I put them on TMV timeout? I'll have to think about that. Whether I'll watch that game or not. But anyway, yeah, T1. We should talk about them. I think that they unfortunately have an unlucky draw here. I think in their first game, I just don't see a way that they can. Like the vibes will be so good for Paper X. The vibes will be so good, and
pressure might be high.
I just believe and T1 like I think that they will make playoffs for sure. Could make Shanghai. Probably should be favored to right now. I think alongside Genji and Paper X, I think they probably should be favored to.
I think one other thing that is really unfortunate for T1 is that they've probably been prepping for Paper X, knowing that they're playing Paper X, and now most of their prep is shit.
Yeah. They just play different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, unlucky T1, unlucky, but I still have some faith in them going down the line. Let's get on to. So is everyone playing 2 games? No. We just have 4. We just have 8 games in Pacific.
8 total games. Yeah.
Don't quite know why, but that's the way they've done it. So then we got Team Secret versus RRQ. Now a lot of people kind of similar to Team Secret. Here we go. RRQ. Right. The big question: are RRQ above the Team Secret line? The secret line.
The secret meridian.
Because a lot of people want to put them above the secret line, without maybe seeing any proof that they should be.
I mean, if you pull up the RRQ, okay, I just have to put this on screen for a second. If you pull up the RRQ history, their last 3 games were all against Gen G. They're all losses. They're all 2-1. But they literally just played Gen G 3 times in a row and lost every single game. They also lost to the Zeta Division, which is maybe not great according to you. They beat Global Esports. But
that was last year.
Was that all last year?
Yeah. Only the Gen G. They only played Gen G. They're one of these teams. They only played Gen G this year.
Okay, so
that's why again, like they're a mystery team, right? Because it's like, oh, they played Gen G close twice. Gen G are good, so therefore RRQ must be good. But again, I'm just saying that like Gen G, I think we're a different team from when they were playing RRQ to, the Gen G that you know. So where do you stand on RRQ? Are they above or below the secret line?
I think I'm going to take RRQ this game. And I think that basically Secret and RRQ are like neck and neck. They're at the same spot. But I think from what I've seen from Secret is that they're very up and down. They're consistently like, we're good one game.
Oh yeah,
and
the
next
waves
game,
go up and down. The water,
exactly.
The water line of Secret. It's
exactly
the wave.
That's what Secret is. It fits in with the Pacific branding as well. The wave, it's all perfect.
Well, you might have convinced me actually.
And for me, I think it's like Secret is going to be up on the wave to beat DRX, and they're going to be down on the wave to lose RRQ, and then they're going to be up.
Okay, this is what I'm gonna do the opposite, and just say that you've missed where the wave is, the crest of the wave. You've just missed the crest. The crest of the wave comes against RRQ, and the dip comes against the RX.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what RRQ is going to be. Like we've seen them have some pretty good improvement over the course of last year. They obviously have some good players. They have some kind of unproven players who seem skilled, but we don't really know what we're going to get from them. They're just really a team that I never know whether they're going to be good or bad, like from map to map, and like it's hard for me to get a read on this team.
Yeah, I think that these two are like right next to each other. In Pacific, they're like
stealing my points.
Yeah. But they are. I think that's just a fair assumption. Like, I think that in Pacific is quite spread out, I feel like, in terms of the teams. I feel like in other leagues, like there's little clumps and stuff. I feel like Pacific is kind of like there's the top teams very clearly. Then
Hmm.
you've got a clear top two, and then you've got kind of I think a clear T1. Then you've got like DRX, and then I
Hmm.
think you've probably got Team Secret RRQ like in this next little bubble,
Hmm.
like on their own. Because I feel much better about them than say. I mean, maybe you could say Talon deserve to be in that bubble as well. Maybe Zeta, but I might even put them in their own little bracket as
Zeta,
well.
Zeta,
And then
Zeta.
you've got like the rest, right? Then you've got the bad teams. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm gonna say that yeah, Team Secret, the wave comes up for Team Secret and they win this game, but it wouldn't shock me if it went either way. The next game though might shock me a little bit. How low are you really on DRX? Can Global beat them?
Absolutely not. There's
Okay,
zero chance. DRX
let's
is
move
winning
on.
this.
We
Yeah,
don't need to
I
spend
don't
any
want to
more
talk about
time.
global anymore.
Yeah. Then, and again, I don't know why we'll have to wait so long, but then we finally get the introduction of Gen G, who are playing against Talon.
Yep.
Uh,
Genji are winning this
anyway, you're
game.
not picking Gen G? No,
Nope.
yep, you're happy with Gen G.
Yep.
Um, again, maybe my only thought could be maybe again it's the Madrid. Maybe we get a little Madrid curse hangover stuff for some of these teams, but um, yeah, I'm happy to go with Gen G as well. And then finally T1 versus DFM. This is what the people have been waiting for, right? Sorry, everyone, you're gonna have to wait till Tuesday to get DFM playing.
Tuesday, ain't it?
You're just gonna have to wait. They're gonna make us all wait for DFM to unveil what they've been working on for the past month. Give me any reason you can for why DFM will win this game.
Because you bought their classic.
I thought you were just gonna stay silent then, which would have been quite funny. Just there is no
Especially
reason.
because you can't see me. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no real reason for DFM.
Nope.
Will DFM win a game this year?
Let me look at the teams again.
Well, they have to play at some point. They have to play Global. They have to play Bleed.
Yeah, I can see them beating Global.
There you go. There you have it.
I'll give them a 50% chance to win a game this season.
50-50. Wow. To win one game. If they don't win another game all year, oh my god. Then
then they need to find a different Japanese org to merge with. They're
tell you what,
just
DFM,
they're
if we
gonna
do one
slowly
more,
just consume
yeah,
every other Japanese
the other
org.
org.
They're gonna become
Yeah.
like a blob. Just all right, Crazy Raccoon. Okay, let's go bring in Fennel. Okay,
Yeah.
now we're gonna bring in Scars, and we're just gonna become DFM, Crazy Raccoon, Scars,
Yeah.
Fennel. That'll be their entire name. It'll just take up like that'll be great.
Detonation raccoons with scars in a fennel.
Yep, eating Fennel.
Eating fennel, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so there you go. That's all the games. T1 are beating DFM. Just to confirm, T1 are beating DFM.
TFM
DFM.
TFM are beating DFM. Correct.
Okay. Congratulations to all those teams. I'm sure surely our pick'ems are right. Right? Surely.
I think we did.
I mean, they
pretty
can't
well.
all be right because we did disagree on some, but
we
for the most
disagreed
part,
on
we
some.
did agree, which I was a bit surprised with because there is some spicy games this week. To start off, to kick us off here, there are definitely some spicy ones. And remember, we will be whoever wins the pick'ems. So I've got we'll just track them, I guess, on VLR. We can just see who has the most correct here, and whoever does have the most correct will be choosing a skin for the other one to buy and rock
Tuesday, ain't it?
for all of 2024. I'll need to think about which one I will make you get. I'm hoping there's a really bad Chinese one, like just like it just looks awful. I'm really hoping for that. Okay, is that it then?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to finish up, couple of things. We're gonna be trying to do this every week, right here on. We'll figure out. It's either gonna be Monday or Tuesday. We're not sure yet, but
Tuesday. It's the second day of the week, Tuesday.
okay. Well, apparently it'll be Tuesday, but not totally confirmed yet. But probably. And then the second point is that we will probably try to do like the viewer questions segment at some point, but not this week because TMV has to go. But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Cosmic Divide, episode 22. Appreciate y'all. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Peace.